discuss the potential for sustainable supply chain developments for this particular industry. So to kick off, I think most of us understand what sustainability is and what supply chain is. But could you start by explaining what sustainable supply chain is?
So let's go back to basics, right? So we all know what sustainability is. Generally speaking, sustainable supply chain is a supply chain that balances, right, the environmental needs, the economic needs, the social needs, and all that. So I think sustainable supply chain is a supply chain that balances all this: environmental, economic, social impact, things like that. So what Alphonsus was talking about, the need to create social impact, right, for the advancement of the people in Nigeria. So that is one of the things that sustainable supply chain can look into. But the pandemic has also taught us one thing. Sustainability in supply chain is also about how to be flexible, how to be agile, how to be resilient, right? So just now, based on what Leon was sharing, there's also a lot about that, what we have learned over the years. Malaysia has started earlier, but we have made a lot of mistakes and learning along the years as well. So that's why MASSCI, we thought that bridging these two, Malaysia, who has learned a lot, Nigeria, that is in need of the social impact we can bring, how we can bring the supply chain sustainably. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. So next question for you. Is there a need for sustainable supply chains in today's world? I think you've covered that as well. Would you like to add on to this particular area?
Yes, actually. So other than the fact that we need to be resilient, I think from an environmental standpoint, up to 90% of a company's carbon footprint is actually generated through its supply chain. So looking into sustainability is something I think that is really critical at this point for all of us moving forward, whether in biomass or any other kind of sector, right? Even if we are not directly in the biomass sector or the palm oil sector, any support services, any spin-offs from that, everything depends on how well we are able to survive.
All right, thank you. And moving on, how does innovation then come into the picture?
Well, sustainability in supply chain is something that's relatively new. In the past, we talk about, especially in the few years before the pandemic, right? Many of us, especially when we structure our global supply chain, we sacrifice a lot in the name of cost cutting, right? That's why actually most of us got disruption. The pandemic was supposed to hurt us. It was not supposed to kill us per se, not our business, not our supply chain. But somewhere along the way, we lost track of that, right? So I think right now we need to rebuild, and it's important. Something such an important agenda, something that we are taking from a country that has learned from mistakes to another country that actually can effect huge social impact. We're going to do something new. We need to do this in the new way that is sustainably. So the only way to do this is through innovation. You can't do new things using old technology or outdated mindsets, right? So it's only with technology advancement, it's only with innovation. So things like blockchain, we're going to talk about a lot. Sustainability, a lot of it is about traceability, right? So blockchain technology, for example, right? Automation in some contexts, so many other things, even additive manufacturing, so many. So it's always innovation. When we talk about sustainability, it must be coupled with innovation.
Thank you. Last but not least, I think last question for you is how does a company begin to make its supply chain more sustainable?
Okay. Yeah, I have a slide for this. Can we have that? So I work extensively with SMEs. And most of the time, when we talk about sustainability, SMEs are saying that I don't have the budget, I don't have the expertise, I don't know how to start. But sustainability or ESG is a journey. It's not something that you wake up and tomorrow you make a purchase, you buy an ERP system and then you're sustainable, right? So this is a 5 steps how to get started. SMEs like this, right? First, you establish a sustainable business strategy. So you identify, you got to be honest with yourself, do an audit. Where is your sustainability weakness? Then from there, you can chart a sustainable business strategy. It needs to start with that. Yeah, it's a C-suite discussion. It's not something that the boss signs off on a procurement thing and then your people buy something and they do something. It doesn't work that way, right? It needs to start from the business DNA, right? Then once you start to collect data. You need to learn from the data. You need to embed the data into your process, internal process, but also in your networks. That means all your supply chain partnerships, right? Most people think about logistics, but it's more than that. Your entire network of suppliers, right? This sounds very, very difficult, right? Especially for SMEs. Managing carbon and climate exposure. It could be something as simple as saving day mileage or fuel consumption in your own internal process. It's a start, right? The trick is to get the mindset right. You just need to get started and things will go from there. Circularity. How do you feed things back? So like just now, our esteemed panel were discussing how biomass actually feeds back. So the byproduct from the first process feeds back into the second process, right? And from there we add value. This is waste management, right? We feed it back instead of throwing it away. And then you prioritize people. It starts from within, your own staff. Do you train them? The mindset. And the next one is your supply chain. Sometimes your suppliers are even smaller than you. So, you need to invest to maybe educate them, maybe finance their own upgrades as well. Because ESG is about your entire chain. It's not just you doing well. Your supplier needs to be sustainable as well. Right? So from the sustainable supply chain perspective, and especially for SMEs in Malaysia, at least you can get started.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much, Datin. Very lovely sharing on the five key points from MASSCI, guys.